Hey there, welcome to the channel. So it's July 4th, 2022. We're going to take a look at what's coming up for the week ahead. All right. Well, happy July 4th to everyone out there. Okay. So this week, what's coming up in kind of the economic events? We see factory orders are coming up on Tuesday. I don't know. Really if that's a big deal or not. Mortgage applications index. So these would be kind of similar, kind of interesting because rates have pulled down a little bit. So we'll kind of see if mortgage applications are picking up a little bit. Maybe some people are just kind of relieved and, trying to sneak in there to buy something before rates go higher, or they think it goes higher. So two things on Wednesday. The job openings, I don't know if it'll be a big deal, but it's kind of interesting if the job openings kind of collapse, because we're going to look ahead. We're going to get we get the ADP employment change on Thursday, and then we get the non-farm payrolls. So here they're looking at positive consensus for the non-farm payrolls, and so the question is going to be, I think, if we're looking at things and we're really thinking, especially with that Atlanta Fed GDP forecast that we're in recession, the question is going to be, are any of these economic indicators going to be pointing towards more of a recession, and confirming that maybe we are in fact in recession right now? So, one of the areas that you would look at is at JOLTS, right? Job openings, because that's the first thing. If a company is concerned about being in recession or concerned about earnings or anything, that's the first thing they stop is, job openings. They close those things up right away, right? So that could be one that's interesting. I mean, I don't think anyone can know what it's going to be, but yeah, we'll just kind of look at that. And then ISM non-manufacturing index 54. If it came in low, I don't know, the new orders came in low the other week, but yeah, I wouldn't expect that to drop all the way below 50. But we do have the FOMC minutes, so we'll kind of see. I don't know if some crazy, if people were talking about they should have gone higher on rates or whatever. Who knows if something comes out of that. So then really, I think then the rest of the week towards the end, the employment change and the non-farm payroll sort of seems to be probably the big things, not unless something happens with job openings or the FOMC minutes that is unexpected. I mean, you could maybe see something positive if there's some talk in the FOMC minutes that, we're going too far, we're raising too fast, and we need to pause. If there was something like that, and I'm not saying there would be, but if there was, and that might be kind of positive for the market. So I think that is it for the economic things to come up this week. Let's go look at where the charts were for us. Okay, so we can see that we're still in kind of this downtrend. We have this continuing kind of thing where you get, this is interesting, right? You had the full-on uptrend back here, right? You came up. This is really classic. It comes up and then it fails at some point. Couldn't get near the high, and then it broke down. And it's kind of been breaking down ever since. You get these kind of up days here and there, but then they're kind of sold up weeks. Pardon me. These are weeks, up weeks, and then they just kind of sell off. So it kind of seems like the same pattern. We had an up week before, and then last week you had sort of a kind of more towards a flat week. So that's kind of where we're at. And then looking at the Qs situation with the Qs, let's clear this. Yeah, they're just down a little bit more. One thing you can look here is you can kind of see that, look, you had this really extended down period back through April and into May, and then you went up and then you went down. But the thing is the period. So what I mean is, if you were looking at it, you said, okay, the length of the downturns, let's see if we measure that in time. And then you could also look at the length of the downturns in price. So this would be your delta P, which delta, this means the change in price, and this would be your delta T for change in time. So if you look here, you see that you had a long period of time, approximately 2 months of mostly down weeks, and had significant down period of time. Then if you go to look at maybe the next down leg down, you can see that your delta time here was still pretty long, delta time, and significant down price here, right? And then what you see, so now what do we see in the latest kind of thing? See, the latest thing is right now, okay, so The down move was now much shorter. So the point I'm trying to make is that, you go down, down, down a bunch of weeks, and you go up a week, down, down, down a bunch of weeks, and you go up, right? So here you had 3 weeks of down and followed by an up week. And then now we're on a sort of a down week after that. But the point is the delta T's, the period of time is gotten much shorter. So that begs the question, are we getting to that point where the sellers are being exhausted? So one of the ways we could do that is we kind of look, it's like, okay, well, how long, how much time are we spending going down, the amount of time that we're just consistently going down, and then also the amount that we're going down. So you can see here in this period here, you haven't gone down that much. You spend a lot of time churning. So what it almost looks like is that, at least in the short term right now, you're kind of maybe starting to hammer into a place where you might get into a trading range or maybe even a base. So that's something to kind of keep in mind, I think. And this is with the weekly chart. So now I'm starting to wonder here. So I'm really starting to wonder. So we have a game. There's a game of chicken going on here. The Fed wants to get inflation down, right? They want to get inflation down. That's sort of all they really care about. They seem to not care about this decline in the stock market. And I think that makes sense because the decline has been orderly. Okay, so what does that mean? The orderly. Well, look, you're not walking in and having the market, hit a circuit breaker and have to shut off. That's disorderly. So when the market comes in and you have these 2%, 3% down days, and you get a string of them all together and you're down 5% for the week, that's all orderly for the Fed. That's all like, okay, the market's just adjusting its price, which it should because the rates are being pushed up. So that's kind of what I see. So trying to look ahead. So just, now we get into the realm of speculation, right? That's what we're talking. It's funny. There was a comment from someone and he said something like, oh, the key point is you don't know. And I found that really funny because it's like, yeah, no, I get what you're saying, but am I supposed to make a video and tell you I know everything and tell you that this is what you should do? And this is, I know this. Well, that's like kindergarten level logic, right? It's like, no, that's not how the world works. I mean, I would say this. You should, if you're watching videos on YouTube related to finance and macro things, and watching people and they're all talking about how they know this is going to happen or that happen, I would strongly advise that, and this is not financial advice, you would turn it off, because all these people are like, they're all full of it. Even the big guys like Kramer, like stuff he did in the financial crisis was just reprehensible. So they don't know. So then what's the point? Right. So what's the point if you tune into my channel and you're like, well, okay, this doofus doesn't know anything. Yeah, that's sure. But the point is, I have a perspective. And if you're out there and you're trying to invest some money, you're trying to learn about trading stocks, and you're trying to deal with that, and you working with a financial advisor and your advisor's telling you this or that, okay, that's all fine. But what you really want is what? Perspectives. You want different perspectives. That's what it's all about. You don't want one perspective. You don't want to be like, oh, I watch only CNBC or only Bloomberg and I just parrot everything that they say because I don't even know that there's another view, right? This is really one of the best things that you can do to help yourself out in these things. Just get different perspectives. And I have a perspective and mine matches up with some folks, and other folks it doesn't match up. So that's all it is. That's all this channel is. And if you're out there looking for perspectives, I have one, and that's all I'm sharing. So looking at Bitcoin now, we'll just kind of go to the Bitcoin. See, Bitcoin, this is another one too, had just, I'm so anti-Bitcoin, at this point. I'm so anti Bitcoin because I just, as I look into it, and I've just gotten to the point where I realize it's like, look, I don't think there's anything there. I don't think there's anything underneath. Like when you drop oil down, like for example, when oil goes to a really low price or gold goes to a really low price, there's still some intrinsic value there, but there's no intrinsic value at the bottom of this thing. So I still think it's, an issue. However, once again, we're in one of these really long declines here, but it's kind of been lingering in this 20,000 area. So I don't know if at some point there's this going to be some kind of a reverse, some kind of a little bit of a rally here. And so now we could look at this guy and just zoom in here. Yeah. We zoom in on this guy. And if we look at this, so here's like kind of interesting, right? Because gosh, it really got killed back here in June. But look at, we got this little W. And, if some miracle it's able to put in a rally and break through this 22,000, you could see that, look, where is the next resistance? If it could somehow break through there, it's got room to get all the way up into the 28K before it starts hitting all this resistance in here, it seems. Yeah. And there may be some back here, but it's pretty far away. It's over a year away. So this is going to be the main like area. However, the negative to this, you see this is, look at how low that volume is. I know it's hard to see, but man, that volume is so low. And that's kind of what it's telling you. So yeah, the thing is like drifting up a little bit, but the volume is so low. And then when you look and you see the down days, you see this high volume here. And so that kind of tells you that. So basically, when you see right now, looking at that update, the volume is like not confirming. Preferably, if you see something happen, you'd like to see it happen on higher volume, preferably above this moving average line, the red line down there on the volume chart. And so I don't see that. So I'm kind of suspect, but I'm always looking for W's just to kind of see, hey, maybe, maybe something's going to happen there. Who knows? However, I'm sorry, going back to Bitcoin, and just one more thing about it is, look, you still have all these issues with these companies withholding withdrawals. So this is still a run on the bank. And that is what's in full play right now with this thing, run on the bank. So there's just nearly infinite selling pressure on it. So let's look at the 10-year. Now, 10-year, this is an interesting one. Look at this 10-year. So the 10-year came off significantly last week. So this is kind of interesting. Have we finally gotten to the point where the market is saying, hey, is the market really like kind of saying, I mean, this is interesting. And now, okay, now we get speculation, and let's try to draw some trend lines. I don't know, maybe there's a trend line there. There's more of a reasonable trend line there. But what I see here, and this is like a pattern that hasn't played out, but you can kind of see this support area here. Okay, you can see how you came down, boom, 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 came down and held this kind of support line here right around 27. And now you kind of look how the rates went up. So we can kind of try to analyze. And now the question is, well, what's going to happen here? Is it going to hold this 27 again, which is 2.7% interest rate? Maybe it could, but an interesting setup how this is working out is you kind of wonder. And so you would just get the old speculation thing on. And you remember, like, when I, talk about those, when I start drawing a pattern in, the probability of that happening is very low. Basically, you can go through and try to like identify patterns, and then the probability of success at any time, the probability is, probably very, very low. But just kind of thinking ahead to like, okay, what would happen? So now if you're looking at the situation, and look, if it kind of breaks that 27, especially if it actually kind of gets support and then goes up and then kind of falls short over here and then comes through again, you might have an opening here. And you might have an opening, all the way down to 1.8%. So that's kind of interesting. And it doesn't mean that the big picture could still be going up, but it could be in this short period of time. So that would be, then what's the reverse of that? The reverse of that is TLT. TLT is the 20, but the 10 and 20 pretty good. So that would be something that maybe there's a move to, if you're a trader, not financial advice, that you would, maybe the bonds, maybe there's something going on where maybe there's going to be an opportunity, and trading some bonds right now. And you can kind of see it here. TLT obviously trading a little different. It's not there yet. But we'll kind of see. We'll kind of see. So yeah, just something to keep an eye on. I want to look at, let's just check gold. I know gold's terrible. Okay, so what happened is all the money that usually goes to gold went into Bitcoin, and it's being destroyed right now because of the implosion. So there we go. All right. Look at, this is really good on wheat. Wheat has now crashed a little bit. So getting down to like 8. So that's really positive. Hopefully that will just clean things up a little bit, because that's just horrible, because the problem with wheat is that's really, really killing people. And there's probably going to be a bunch of people killed anyways. This is horrible, horrible. USO, UNG really came off. USO, interesting. What did I see? I saw something on the, USO, little W here. I don't know that it will come out and do anything. It's kind of riding this. It's kind of like got a support line here, a trend line, right? Some kind of there's some kind of trend line here, you could say. So this thing is now riding it. You kind of had this consolidation and then it broke out. So yeah, well, kind of interesting here. So I just wonder if it's like, I'm wondering because okay, so EU right now they're talking about they're trying to do this cap the price of oil. Um, this obviously to anyone that isn't delusional, this is insane. You can't cap the price of oil. I mean, there's just no way that you can do it. And we already know that China, India, and other countries are just not going along. So it's not going to work. Now the question is, is it going to cause some unintended consequences? Going to cause the price to spike more? That's, I think, in my mind, the only question in terms of it doing what it is supposed to, what they want it to do. No, it's not. And I think in the really big picture with all these sanctions, you're looking at a really tough situation because basically it's like every single one of these sanctions that they put on Russia has just been like punching yourself in the face, pardon me. Just keep punching and punching yourself in the face. So like I expect none of these has worked out very well. They really haven't. They haven't like destroyed the ruble, haven't destroyed their economy. Sure, there's issues, but there's issues here as well. Um, you know, none of it has really worked out. So I don't expect capping oil price or trying to do that would do that as well. Would do anything as well. I wouldn't expect it to work any better. And if you said, well, no, it's going to work this time, well, just look at the results that you got from what already happened. I mean, that's all you need to do. Now, interesting, look at your dollar is pushed up again to really highs here. It's really pushing up. So yeah, it tried to break out of the recent highs on the dollar. So the dollar continuing to push up. So Brent Johnson's milkshake is just full on in play right now. Let's go look at Tesla. So just looking at Tesla, because I did that video on the vehicle deliveries for Tesla, and it was kind of much lower. It was a significant drop from the fourth quarter of the previous year, and only a small change from a year ago. So that drop it's got to reflect in earnings. You can't declare sales for stuff that you didn't deliver in this particular case, as far as I know. So I assume that they're going to have a big negative number here. And I assume that the market is going to figure this out and going to reprice that on Tuesday, my guess. I wanted to look at just one other thing. I was looking at some of these other companies and I was trying to look for W's and things. One interesting one that I see is I see CRISPR Therapeutics. Now, I'm not sure. I'm going to do some research on this company, try to figure out what it is. But in the big picture, my understanding is, and this is what you can read about when they talk about gene editing and stuff like that. They'll blow CRISPR. They have the CRISPR-9 and CRISPR-12 systems, and basically the idea is you edit genes. So basically, in our bodies we have, you have genes. Basically, you have the DNA. DNA is, you have your AGTC, and those are basically almost like binary binary bits, and then they get strung together to amino acids, and then these big long chains of them are broken into chromosome or sections of them to genes, and then to chromosomes and the whole thing. But the point is, it's kind of the blueprint for making proteins, which basically make our bodies. But they also make, it's the same kind of deal for whether you're talking about, corn, vegetables. Everything has some kind of, either DNA in it, genetic makeup. And so the point is, it's this company, I believe, is the one doing the editing of that. So it's kind of interesting that they got beaten up, and I don't really know why. But what I'm noting here is that, this is on a weekly chart, and I'm just trying to, I once again, probably a little speculative here, but look at this. I'm kind of seeing, you're kind of seeing this kind of, you're kind of seeing it turn around. So if you look at the blue is the 10 weeks, so that's equivalent to the, 50-day moving average. So you can see down here, the 50-day moving average is turning. So it's kind of flattening and turning, and you're putting in some kind of a base. And I just kind of drew it as a, inverse head and shoulders. So this is one that's kind of interesting. I just kind of noticed it. And so, like I said, I'm trying to, just try to look out there. Is there anything that's maybe going to want to, come out of, the downturn that we're in? Does it want to break out early? And this would be kind of an indication, is something happening, and just trying to pay attention to that. So you can see that you have this little symmetrical triangle here as well, which is in a little bit of an uptrend before that. So you kind of wonder, if it, in the early part, would it break out of this, little downtrend here, break out a little bit, then it has to break out of the resistance over here, and then over here. But if it's able to break out of here, then you got some resistance here. But if it's breakouts of those things, so there can be a lot of resistance here, but it's kind of keeps pushing up and working its way up. So, that's one that's kind of interesting. Maybe this thing is gonna come out running. So I think that is it for this one. I'm looking this week. I'm looking that, probably maybe not much going on, not unless the Fed, something there, and not unless there's a surprise in the job openings or the jobs. If we get much lower jobs than expected, or the job openings crashes, all that kind of indicates that, recession, we're in it. And then the crypto situation, looking at the crypto, it's like so oversold. But the issue with the crypto is that you have all these companies that, why would Celsius not allow you to withdraw the money? Why would they not allow that withdrawal? And to my understanding, they're not letting any withdrawal. If you were a customer, you would be happy at this point to give me my fractional Bitcoin, give me my Bitcoin, because then at least I'll go take that to wherever and sell it, and I'll take the loss, but be done with it, right? Convert it to dollars, but they're not even doing that, and they're not getting the stable coins back. They're not getting the Bitcoins back. So it's kind of important that there's just not enough. They don't have enough Bitcoin at all to do this. And so the question is, do these companies, if these companies had money, then you would say, okay, take company X. So pick any company. You could pick Celsius, Three Arrows, whatever, pick a company. And you say, if you're that company and you owe billions of dollars equivalent of Bitcoin, right? You owe billions, but you don't have it. You don't even have the Bitcoin at this point, and you certainly don't have the money. So that's kind of interesting, because what you would do is, like, if you have the Bitcoin, if you could, you would maybe give it to them. But the problem is your Bitcoin might be, you might be using that as collateral for loans. And so maybe you can't really give that back to the customer. So all these things going on. But the point is, there's a shortage of, they don't have the Bitcoin, but they also don't have the money. They don't have the money to go out there. So you would look at it and say, hey, if I was a company and I'm short whatever, 10, 20,000 Bitcoin, hundreds of millions of dollars of Bitcoin that I owe to my customers. And if I had the money to just go out and buy the Bitcoin back, then I would expect on this chart that, you would see some buying pressure in here, and this thing would start, pushing up, right? But the problem is they don't have the money. No one's got the money. So they can't go out there and get the Bitcoin. They can't do anything. The best that they can do is, if they have some Bitcoin stable coin, that they try to just give you that instead. But apparently they don't have enough of that either. So big mess in crypto. So I would just keep my eyes out on that too, because that is waiting to blow up. All right, bye.